Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Tales from the Fandom. I am David, and I am here today with my latest guest. We are in the month of February, and I am pleased to have Ashley, but you might know her on Instagram as Ashley Hime Cosplay, and I am super excited to talk to her. And not only is she a great person on Instagram, but she is also a fellow Central Floridian, and I'm excited to get to talk to her today. How are you doing today, Ashley?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. This is going to be a lot of fun.
It is going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to get to talk to you. I think we've been following each other for a while now. At least I feel like that.
I want to say since 2019, like in the summertime, I want to say.
I think so. I think
Yeah.
at like there was a time where I was like, oh gosh, an Orlando Sailor Moon group. Let me follow everybody.
Yeah, I think I started following you because you interviewed one of my friends, Susie, Susie in the Sky
Yeah,
Designs, and I was like, oh, this is like a really cool idea, and I listened to the podcast. It was great, and yeah, that's why I followed you.
yeah. Susie was awesome, and we got to talk about some cool things. Especially, it's rare to find people that are into X Files, these days. And I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. I get to talk to
Mhm.
somebody about that.
Yeah, and she's really into She-Ra too. Like her cosplays of it are like spot on.
Yeah, she's right now. I know she's being a plant mom, so
Yes,
I'm
she
like, yeah,
is.
plant mom. I kill all my plants.
I ask her all the time about plant help because I started like a little while ago of starting to grow plants and I'm clueless about that kind of stuff. So I was like, what am I doing? So I just constantly ask her for help.
Oh gosh, last year my wife and I debated about should we make a garden to grow our own food. Of course, this is like during like the pandemic times
Mhm.
of trying to fight for food at the grocery store,
Yeah.
and we both decided no, we kill anything that is green in this house.
Oh no. You should get one of those easy plants, like if those even exist. Some people say, "Oh, this plant's so easy," or "That one, you can't kill that one." You should go for something easy, quote unquote.
I, we have an issue of once we have the plant, we forget to like water it.
Me too. Or I overwater it. I think it needs all the water in the world, and then it ends up just getting too much. And then I'm like, there's got to be a balance, but I just can't get the balance yet.
Why won't you drink more water?
Exactly.
Hydrate. But we are here not to talk about. Well, I mean, I would be down to talk about plants, but I know nothing about them, so it's not something that I can talk about. But I can talk about fandom, and we got some overlapping fandoms, and I'm super excited to dive into them. And one of the first things is obviously, as I mentioned, and you mentioned, you're in a Sailor Moon cosplay group in Central Florida. So obviously, I would hope at least that you're at least partially into Sailor Moon.
I love Sailor Moon. I'm obsessed. I have way too much Sailor Moon stuff. But yes, I'm a part of a Sailor Moon group. I'm actually one of the co-founders. It's called Sailor Guardians of Central Florida.
Cool beans. I know we'll be talking about them later on when we're talking about cosplay stuff. How did you get into Sailor Moon?
When I was in elementary school, I remember getting one of those Sailor Moon Barbie dolls essentially, and but I wasn't watching it. It was just like a random gift my mom gave me. Like she went to Toys R Us and was like, "Oh, this is a pretty doll. Let me give it to my daughter." I didn't watch Sailor Moon at the time, but it came with a CD-ROM where it played the audio from one of the episodes. It's really weird. I'm not sure if anyone else had that kind of toy back then, but then when I was I want to say fifth grade, they actually played Sailor Moon on TV, like one of the movies. It was actually the third movie on TV, and that was my actual first time actually watching Sailor Moon, and I loved it. I had no idea who the characters were or what was going on, but I just loved the design of the characters, and I thought they were all awesome girl superheroes and stuff. And so then once I kind of started watching that, I got more into it and realized, oh, it plays on Toonami. That's so cool. And so I just ended up watching it on Toonami for the time that it was on there. And just from there, kind of, I learned more about it. I not only watched the English dub of it, but then found out, oh my gosh, it came from Japan. I can listen to the Japanese dub of it. And then my mind was definitely blown when I realized that there was like the last season, Sailor Stars, because that didn't air in America, didn't have an English dub at the time. And so I thought, after the Dream season, that was it. The story was over. But then I was like, no, the story keeps on going. There's a season that like we didn't get to like know about. And so I was just like, wow, this is so cool. And so yeah, I just love it so much. It's such a good story of girl power, friendship always saves the day, and just that like your friends will always be there for you. Your friends can help you save the day. I just love the message of it. And even like to this day, like after so many years of being a fan of it, it still like resonates with me, and the characters too, and how they like grow and develop.
It's a fascinating show as far as I think it's one of those shows that has a tremendous influence across media from like that point forward. It's one of those shows similar to I guess I would equate it. It's and I hate saying like the female version of like Power Rangers, but
Mhm.
they both are very like Sentai type shows. Uh, one's Magical Girl and one is Sentai, but it's the like the influence that Sailor Moon has had across media, whether it's like animation with the multiple girl characters or like the themes that it carries over like really evident. Like I was even thinking while you were talking, I was like, man, She-Ra and the Princesses of Power, which is on Netflix, definitely feels at times like a Sailor Moon esque type thing where there's more of like a main character, but they've all got that whole like female team and friendship and like the new My Little Pony series had that whole theme running through it. Obviously, like they're ponies, but they're ponies with power. So it just feels like Sailor Moon has like that wide ranging influence.
And I think the appeal of not of shows not just like Sailor Moon, but of like your example, Power Rangers, is like because I loved Power Rangers too when I was a kid, is that I think everybody like as a kid fantasized about being a superhero. Like how many times did like we like raise our hand up in the air and like say like moon prism power or put a cape on and like run around thinking that we were Superman. Or I think just that idea of like a normal person transforming into a superhero with powers, I think is something that like I think everybody at one time or another, whether they wanted to admit it or not, has like thought about that it would be cool to have. So I think that too is a big reason. It's just the not only like the whole cool transforming aspect and the power aspect of it, but also just the relatability of the characters, that they're normal people. They're not like superhumans with weird mutant powers. They have a brooch or they have an item that transforms them into this superhero.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I will say I never held my hand up and said moon prism power. But I will fully admit that I did write like Power Rangers fan fiction when I was in like eighth grade back in the day when it first came
Oh,
out, and I
really?
fully admit that.
That's awesome, though. Pink Ranger was always my favorite.
Oh gosh, I mean, who doesn't love the Pink Ranger? I mean, that was like one of my first like teenagey crushes anyway.
Yes. Well, Tuxedo Mask was mine for me.
Now, across Sailor Moon, obviously there you've got the inner senshi, the main Sailor Scouts. You have the outer senshi who show up later. You have even more senshi that show up even later that didn't, like you said, didn't really get introduced until people discovered. Oh wow, there's more to it than what we have been shown. But I gotta ask, who's your favorite in Sailor Moon?
Sailor Jupiter. She is my favorite.
But why? Why is Sailor Jupiter your favorite?
So I just love the fact that, first of all, I can't cook like she can. So that's the one thing I can't relate to her about. But I like that she is kind of um, they kind of consider her kind of an outcast because she's the tallest out of all of them. And um, because she's the tallest, people like are kind of scared of her. And not that people are scared of me, but I kind of like as a kid growing up, I could kind of relate to that, being like the like weird kid in the group. So for her, I just like I instantly related with that, as well as that the funniest thing about her is that any guy that she's dated in the past, if she sees a guy out in public, she's like, "Oh, you remind me of my ex-boyfriend," or anything like that. And she's just boy crazy. And I'm like, that's a little bit of me sometimes. But yeah, I just love her. She's super strong and fierce, and she's very loyal to Sailor Moon. And that's another reason why I can relate to her.
Oh, that's awesome. I do enjoy. I have a soft spot for all of the inners. They are the main cast that I grew up with until I discovered like that there's outer senshi, and then like Pluto kind of nudged her way in because Pluto's just mysterious and doesn't really like get to hang out with them too much, but is there and does like cool little things. So I'm like, yeah, I like that. Like you're not really like I have a thing for like background characters that just like show up and they're like there for a little bit and then they disappear. It's like, but I love them. I want to know more. Tell me
Exactly.
more.
Yeah, no, she's like really mysterious, and just that she's very like solitary. She's like all by herself in like that realm where she's just at the time gate. Like, but she's so dedicated to her role as a senshi. I can admire that about her.
Now you said when we started talking about Sailor Moon, like you have a lot of Sailor Moon stuff. Like what are we talking like stuff? Like are we talking like figures or the manga or just like random things?
I
Like
have all of the Sailor Moon manga. Fun fact, and I love telling this to people, I actually have some of the original English voice actors. I had some of them sign the manga. Um, and that's like the coolest thing. I like fangirl every time whenever I think about it. But I also have figures, I have Funko Pops, I've got um, a ton of like Hot Topic Sailor Moon merchandise. Like takes up half my closet, so I'm ready for any occasion to wear any Sailor Moon clothes.
so if your work was like it's Sailor Moon Day, it would be something where you're like, "Oh gosh, no, now I have to decide what I'm going to bring and wear to it."
Exactly. I have to wear like the shirt with the Sailor Moon like symbol, sweatpants with the earrings, with the necklace, with the whatever's in my closet that's Sailor Moon merch. I'll be wearing it that day. I will have that ready.
Now, have you watched like the newer Sailor Moon things? Like I know Sailor Moon Crystal. I don't know if it's still going on, but was going on at least a couple of years ago. Like, did you get into that? Are you more of like the just traditional Sailor Moon? Like, where do you fall as far as like what you watch at least?
I would consider myself a traditional like 90s anime fan. I did watch a few episodes of Crystal, like from the first season, but the difference from the 90s anime was very different, and I know it was based mostly on the manga, but I was just very like surprised at like the different things that happened, and also the animation style was a little different. A lot of my friends who watch both versions say that Crystal's gotten a lot better, so I might give it a try one of these days is to try to go back to it, but I would consider myself a traditional 90s fan.
That's what I heard about Crystal also is that it gets better as it moves on. I know that they also cut out like a lot of filler, like from the 90s, how like I always joke with like Power Rangers and with Sailor Moon and with a number of other shows where it's like, you could really cut down like your season by like half
Yes.
and still get me what I need.
Exactly. No, you're completely right. They did cut out like a ton of filler like filler episodes. Like I remember from like the original like 90s anime, I think it was like 3 or 4 episodes in between the first episode and when you meet Ami, Sailor Mercury, but in the Crystal version, it's like the next episode that she comes into play, and it's like, "Oh, that's different." Then we just go straight into the next person.
Yeah, I was trying to introduce my kids to the '90s one, and we watched it for a little bit, but I don't think it really hooked them. Between I think kids these days and their newfangled animation, and if it's not like moving at the speed of sound, then it's just not hooking them.
Yeah, I wonder if they'd be interested in Crystal then, since it's a little bit like less filler and a little bit quicker with the pacing.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe I'll have to try it on them.
they gotta hook them in with Sailor Moon somehow.
That's right. I think one of the cool things though with Sailor Moon is, I mean, Sailor Moon has been around for such a long time that it's become part of the like this fandom where it's just permeating the culture of fandom. And regardless of if you go to like a comic book convention, anime convention, like you will always have a Sailor Moon or a Sailor Scout somewhere, and there's always going to be like that fan art or whatever the people are selling in like the artist alley areas, and inevitably there's something Sailor Moon. And I feel like every generation a Sailor Moon something comes out for them to like get more people into this fandom.
No, I completely agree. And you're right about the whole like any event that comes up, like Sailor Moon still resonates with people. Like it can resonate with people that are like older. Like I've seen people that are in like their 40s or 50s that love Sailor Moon. But then recently, I met like a kid who was, and I mean kid like 12 years old, who got introduced via Crystal, and I'm just like, that is such an amazing like connection between people that they can all come together and love Sailor Moon, but in different forms, but still love Sailor Moon because that's who she is
Absolutely. Bringing one person into the fandom every time.
every
Sailor Moon.
time.
Fandom power. Yeah.
Yeah, woo.
That now people that are listening, you got to like insert like some Sailor Moon type pose after that, so that way it makes sense.
Yes, and with sparkles behind us and possible explosions, something like that.
The question would be, does Sailor Moon look at the explosion, or does she just turn around and just be awesome with the explosion
She
behind?
just stares straight ahead, like right at the camera.
Now from one Japanese fandom to the next, and this one is something that I just entirely love, and I think when people get exposed to it, there's either the absolute love for it, or they're like, man, this is really long and sometimes it's boring. But I'm hopeful that I'm pretty sure, since you put it on your list of favorite fandoms, that you're totally awesome and into it. You put down that you are into Studio Ghibli movies,
I am. I love them so much.
which, as we're recording this, I think yesterday was Hayao Miyazaki's birthday.
It was?
I believe so. I saw some stuff trending on Twitter about it and talking about like favorite Studio Ghibli movies. So I'm pretty sure his birthday just passed as we're recording this in January.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that.
Now, Studio Ghibli's been around for longer than I've been alive, I think. I'm pretty. It'll be pretty close. Because I know some of his earlier stuff was back in like either late 70s or 80s. But wide catalog of movies. Still stuff coming out to this day. Although I think he's not really as hands on as he used to be. But out of the catalog, what are we talking about? Like which movies are your favorites? How did you get into them? Because that's another thing, is depending on where you started from, your movie taste might be different than my movie tastes.
Oh, that'd be interesting. Well, I would say my favorite out of the list of the movies is Howl's Moving Castle, Castle in the Sky, Kiki's Delivery Service, and Spirited Away. Those would be my favorites.
were those the ones that you started with, or did you start with a different one first? Because
The first one I ever ended up watching was Castle in the Sky, and it was actually through a friend of mine. We were going on a road trip, and we had one of those DVD players that you could watch movies in the car with. And she said, "Okay, we're gonna watch this. You know, it's a really long trip we have, so we're gonna watch this movie." And I'd never heard of it, and it was Castle in the Sky. And Studio Ghibli movies are really long, and it was perfect because the trip was really long, and I was just hooked. I wanted to watch it again on the way back from the trip we took. And it was just amazing. And I was hooked. It was just such a beautiful and an amazing story, too.
that I will say, Castle in the Sky is the one movie out of the ones that I've seen on out of the Ghibli catalog. That is the one movie where it is deceptively long, and I'm like, because I remember taking my kids to see it. There's a theater here in Orlando called the Enzion that usually does a Ghibli movie every year for like a lunchtime matinee type thing for the kids.
Oh, that's cool.
And they had that one, and we took them to it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like you forget how long and involved that movie is, but it's really good. But sometimes you're just like waiting for things, like you're just like, look at the beautiful animation and look at the beautiful clouds and the beautiful island and the castle, and but wow, it's really long.
I would say like Castle in the Sky is very fast paced compared to some of the other Studio Ghibli films that there are. I feel like there is a lot of action scenes in that where the time can go by quickly. Whereas some of the other films like The Secret World of Arietti, that one, you feel the time in that one. You're just like, oh my gosh, come on now, pick up the pace a little bit. But Castle in the Sky, I love the action. It was really, really good. And the voice cast in it, amazing. Mark Hamill is the villain, which I love.
Mark Hamill's always the villain
He's
now.
always the villain. It was literally just hearing Joker the entire time in that movie, and I was all about it.
I don't know if I'd like the Joker in that movie, but I know that I have not watched Arrietty yet. That is on my list. Which thank you to HBO Max for actually having like almost all of his all of the Studio Ghibli movies to watch. So yay!
Yay!
All right, so you started with Castle in the Sky, but that was not on. That was one of the. Let's see here. You had listed. Let's see here. You listed Kiki, and I know Howl is like the first one that came out of your mouth because I
Yes,
was
it
like,
was.
oh yeah.
Yes, it was.
Howl's the one where I didn't realize it was based on a book. And then when I read the book, I was like, oh, wow, they didn't put like half of the stuff into the movie, but the movie was still good because I just watched it a couple months ago. I was like, let me rewatch this movie. And it stands up. It is really good.
I actually, it's funny that you mentioned the book because over the quarantine and stuff, I actually read the book as well because I was like, you know, I cosplay from this all the time. Like, I should probably like read the book just for funsies because I got all the time in the world. And so I read the book and I was like, this like the first like few chapters, they're very close to like the beginning of the movie, and then it completely takes like a complete change and you're like, is this the right title? Did I pick up the right book?" Like you're just like, how did this like get put together? And but then it all works out in the end. It's just funny how like how Howl is portrayed in the film and the book, so different, completely
Hmm.
different characters. It's really funny to like see the differences.
It is. And that caught me off guard too. I was like, wait a minute. And obviously, like generally speaking, books are always better than the movies.
Mhm.
But the compilation of how they decide to like take what parts they took from the book did make a solid movie, but it was just mind-boggling to discover like how much more of the world there was.
It's crazy, especially with like the characters that are in the book but never appear in the movie, and you're just like, who is this person? Like they just completely like xed out of the movie. It was just very strange, and also it was just funny too that also like the personality of Hal is so different from the movie and the book. Like I remember when I was reading the book, he's just constantly calling Sophie this old lady, this old hag. And I'm just like, wow, such a gentleman. Wow, he's a keeper. And so I'm just like, I love Studio Ghibli's version of it better. Of course, you got to respect the source material because that's where it all came from. But I was just like, wow, Howl, you're so different.
It is something because when I lived in Japan, I used to go to a bookstore, and one of my favorite Ghibli movies is Nausicaa.
Mhm.
And when I was at the bookstore, I found like this 8 manga volume of Nausicaa, and like the movie is all of like one of the mangas, and that's it. And then there's like this rest of the story that just continues on, and I'm just like, I could have more. Where's more?
Just more, just all of it. Just have
Just
the
give me
movie be
more.
like 7 hours long to keep putting in all this content.
So what keeps you coming back to Ghibli movies? What is it about them specifically that you're like, I love these movies?
I'm a big music person, not only with like films, but also like video games and like music, like orchestral music. And I get this sense of nostalgia every single time I hear, like, if I boot up Spirited Away and I hear that opening song, I just get like a wave of nostalgia. And that's with every single one of the films. That and also just the art style, how Hayao Miyazaki just holds on like a random bit of scenery just for like a few seconds and then he moves on to something else, or the characters might be standing in like a field or something and just like basking in like nature for a little bit. Cuz like movies nowadays like are so like we got to keep going to the next scene, we got to keep going, but they don't actually like take that time to like take in the surrounding of where the characters are, like how the characters are feeling, you know. And so I would say the art style and the music for sure keep me coming back every time.
It is absolutely something with the art style where you can just I guess I equate it to you're letting like the scene that you're watching breathe, but you're also like letting us see this really like his movies are works of art where it's, and I don't want to say it's simple because it's the style is just like a very simple style, but it's so beautiful, like the way that like the grass blows in the wind or the clouds in the sky, or just that sense of motion that you get from different characters, and you just get to be with them, and like you said, but especially with nature, because a lot of his movies have that theme running through them where it's just that reconnection for, especially with people living in cities, and having to be in the suburbs and stuff like that, where it's nice to have that connection to what we used to have, perhaps.
Absolutely. And especially with some of those scenes where they do stop and take a moment, like whether it be nature or even like somebody's room. What I've noticed every single time I rewatch any of the films is he puts so much detail in the background. Like, for example, like in Howl's Moving Castle, there's a few shots of the castle on the inside before Sophie cleans it. And you look around and you're like, look at all this junk. But like every single time you look around the room, you're like, oh, and there's this, or oh my gosh, I never noticed that was in the background too. Like, so it's like every single time you rewatch one of the films, you're like, oh, I never noticed that was there, or I never noticed this random moment.
Yep, it is something where I still can't believe that they were able to make those kind of movies just the way that they did for so long. And it's like, it's so good.
It is so good. I also just love too how the characters are relatable, especially like Spirited Away. That's like the best example of like a relatable character and a real character. Chihiro, I mean, she's a little girl. She's gonna whine and complain like some kids do. And she's not this like perfect, like, I'm gonna be the best heroine ever. Like, haha. No, she's a real kid. She doesn't want to be there. She whines and complains to her parents and she grows and learns through her journey in the spirit world. So and this is like across all of the films. They always have a character. Like most of their characters are really, really relatable and real people, and it's great. I love it.
Now, before we leave the world of Studio Ghibli, I gotta ask because across the movies, again, there's tremendous characters in all of them. Do you have a favorite, or do you have like a top two or top three if you can't pick one that you're like, dang, this character is the best of all of them?
I would have to say Sophie and Chihiro. I had to say those two are my favorite. Chihiro for the relatability and just how much she grows from being a whiny kid to an independent child who's able to save her parents in the end of the day, to Sophie who is doesn't really view herself as beautiful and she just thinks that she's only good at making hats and she ends up saving Howl and the rest of the group. I just love those characters so much, and yeah, those are my favorites.
When I was thinking of who you were going to name, I kind of leaned into like, yeah, she's going to totally name Sophie,
Yeah.
and the scene that sprung to mind with Sophie was when she was having to climb the stairs to the palace, and I'm like, yeah, yeah. So Sophie's like just got that sass, like, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm old, but I'm still going to get up there.
She climbed those stairs and she was holding a dog while she was doing it. She is a super strong superwoman there.
Mhm, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? We're going to stay in Japan again because but we're going to stay in Japan but into like the realm of video games now. And I have to say, this is a video game series that I I played way back in the day on the Nintendo, and it's not a game that I'm really into as far as being able to play it because I just can't play like action adventure games. But I did buy the one for the Switch, so I can just randomly die a bajillion times. Uh, but we're going to talk about Legend of Zelda.
Yes.
Now, Legend of Zelda's been out since Nintendo days. I remember playing it on the Nintendo when it came out. Which was your first game in the Zelda franchise?
Wind Waker was the first one I've ever played.
That is a wonderfully beautiful choice. I get to watch streamers on Twitch play it quite often. It's a beautiful game. I love the art design. How did you get drawn to Wind Waker? Like, what was it about that game that drew you to it?
I really, when I was younger, I wasn't much of a video game player. I would always watch my brother play the games instead of actually playing myself. But he had rented it from Blockbuster as whoa, way back then. I'm just kidding. But he rented it from Blockbuster and I asked him if I could play it and I did. And because it looked really cool, just the design of it being like a tune and it looked like a very like not easy game, but a game that like anybody could play. And I got into that and I just loved the story. I really related with like good versus evil and I mean he had to cross the whole sea multiple times and I just thought it was such a cool concept, going island to island trying to save the day.
Oh, definitely. And I heard you make a little laugh there about Blockbuster. Like, do you think the people that are listening to this podcast may know what a Blockbuster is?
Oh my
My
gosh,
guess.
it is a legend back in the day. I'm just kidding. But
Well, I did work at Blockbuster for a number of years.
no, that's awesome. Yes.
Yes, I experienced. Let's see here. I experienced videotapes. I experienced when DVDs first came out. I remember when the Nintendo 64 came out, and I remember having to go buy. Um, we had run out of copies of. I think it was either Majora's Mask or Ocarina of Time, and we would drive to like the Toys R Us
Oh my
to go buy
gosh.
more copies to sell or to rent them because it was such a popular title back then.
Oh my gosh. That is so awesome. That
Way
is
way
great.
way back in the day.
Way back in the day. Oh my gosh. I still have my original N64, so When you said that, I
Yeah,
was
that's
like,
awesome.
yeah, N64 people, woo.
Yeah, that's way back in the day. Now, have you played Zelda games since then, or is it just like are you a one-off Wind Waker fan and that's it?
No, my all-time favorite Legend of Zelda is Twilight Princess. I love dark, edgy things and stories, and that game is all dark and creepy, and I loved it. It was also just a little bit more realistic than Wind Waker, obviously, and so I liked that it was like a dark, edgy Link, and not this cute, chibi Link that you just keep going oh every time you see him on the screen. But I love Twilight Princess. I played Skyward Sword as well, and then I've played Breath of the Wild many, many times.
How do you like Breath of the Wild?
It, I have like a love hate relationship with it. I love the open world concept of it. I love that you can pretty much do whatever you want. Like as soon as you start up the game, you can go straight for Ganon once you wake up if you wanted to. Or you can go through the story like they kind of nudge you in the direction to do, but it's totally up to you. But I also um, have some problems with it. Like I said earlier, I'm a big music person, and I just don't. When I boot up Legend of Zelda games, I love the music. I like anytime I hear like a tune, I'm just like, oh, I can name the game right off the bat. But with Breath of the Wild, it's very like you just hear the background of nature, and then sometimes a random piano will play, and you're like, oh, I love music. Oh, there it goes. It just went away. But so it's things like that, as well as I kind of miss like the standard like RPG style of Legend of Zelda. So it was a very big change for the series. So I like it in certain aspects, but other aspects of it I kind of miss. So yeah, that's how I feel about Breath of the Wild.
I always joke about games like that. It's like at a certain point, my hands and brain just don't work together, and I can't do like action adventure type games. But I bought it because I wanted to just run around the world. Because when I watch people stream it on Twitch, it's really nice to just see them play it, but then see like these beautiful locations and just doing like random things. And I'm like, I could do that. And yeah, I promptly like fall off mountains and die and start over and
All right.
freeze to
I was
death.
gonna say,
And
or freeze, or get in hot areas, and then you're like burning alive, like stuff like that.
you know the basics.
You
Like
know
they just decided to make it harder on me. It's fine. It's
exactly.
I'll live. Now, I like that you said that you like dark and edgy stuff, right?
Yes.
And I'm looking at this list here that you provided me, and none of the stuff on here is dark and edgy. Like, what's up with that? Where's
I
where's your dark and edgy?
I love like scary movies, haunted houses, Halloween. I love that kind of stuff. You wouldn't have guessed it from the list I gave you, but I love.
Dark and edgy
I,
Sailor Moon.
oh my gosh, that'd be so cool! Like I've seen cosplay groups do like punk, like goth Sailor Moon,
Hmm.
and I dig it. I dig it. But no, like Twilight Princess kind of reminds me a bit of like Lord of the Rings a bit with
Okay.
how realistic it is. And so that's another series that I like. I'm not obsessed with, but I like Lord of the Rings. I think the style of it's really cool. But no, Twilight Princess, fantastic game. I love it. People always compare it to Ocarina of Time. I haven't played that game. I actually want to get a copy of a game like that game in particular to just see what it's like, because that's like the OG apparently. Yeah, Twilight Princess is amazing. I love the story. I love how it can get like creepy at times, and it's scary, but I love it.
Well, cross your fingers for this year because I know that this is the 35th anniversary year of Legend of Zelda, and the rumor on the street is that they're going to do what they did with the 3D Super Mario series and release possibly like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and maybe another one as like a triple release to celebrate the anniversary. But that's just the rumor. I don't have any facts on that right
Oh
now.
my gosh, I hope that rumor is true. because I'd much rather buy it on the Switch than try to find an N64 cartridge of it, because that would be so much easier. And I like what they did for the Mario series. Like they, you know, made the HD on all of them like so crystal clear, especially on Super Mario 64. Like that one, I saw a lot of people playing through, and I'm just like, wow, it's like it's really really clean. So I hope
Hmm.
they do that for Legend of Zelda. That'd be amazing.
Crossing fingers, crossing
Crossing
fingers.
fingers.
Now, before we talk about cosplay, we have a smidgen of time, at least that I'm looking at, and I always ask a question on my thing that I send out to everybody, talking about like what's something that you're into that you think more people should get into, and I want to give you a little bit of time to talk about that, and that is a comic or a web comic series called Lore Olympus.
Yes. So Lore Olympus is the modern retelling of Hades and Persephone. It is a comic that is on the app called Webtoons. It is by the creator. She goes by Used Band-Aid on Instagram. Her name is Rachel, and the story is just so good. The art style is amazing, and just it gets you hooked every single time. Every Saturday night when a new episode gets like released, I'm always right on the dot as soon as it opens up, and I'm reading it with my friends, and we're talking about our theories of what's going to happen next, and oh, why did this character do that. It's just an amazing series. Check it out. I'd also check out like Webtoons, the app overall, because they have a lot of independent stories that are original stories from content creators like artists and comics. And it's a great way to support artists out there who want to tell their story. So I would definitely recommend Webtoons. If you're not into romance, which Lore Olympus is, they have action, fantasy, romance, sci-fi, you name it. There's a story out there that someone's created, and it's really addicting.
Awesome. I know that I've spoken with a few people about Lore Olympus. I always talk about how I feel like the cosplay community is one that really took it and ran with it, because that's how I learned about Lore Olympus, was through cosplayers doing the different characters.
Yes, and there's a ton of characters, and the community has been really, really cool about um, showing off all the characters, not just the main characters, but like the random side characters. Like they'll cosplay them, and I'm just like, they were in like one episode or one like thing of it, like in a scene in the background. I'm like, that's so cool that you wanted to cosplay them, and you did it like really really well. So it's just amazing how the community has expanded, and they love this series, and that they just kind of go with it, and they just embrace that awesomeness.
And that's always something that's really cool, is when a community like a cosplay community gets together with a community, especially something like a Lore Olympus, where it may not be like super mainstream, but they like both kind of like work together and just create something really magical.
Yeah, that's honestly how I was kind of introduced to Lore Olympus specifically. Was I kept seeing brightly painted cosplayers, and I was just like, wow, there's a lot of pink, there's a lot of blue, there's a lot of red. And then I'd look and see what it was, and I was like, oh, Webtoons, I actually read Webtoons as well. Let me see what the story's all about. And that's kind of where I discovered it.
Yep. Yeah, dastardly cosplayers getting people into things.
Just inspiring us all. It's fine.
Now, a perfect segue is how obviously I found you to be a guest and to just follow you on Instagram, is through the power of cosplay. Because one of the things when I first started this podcast was, how am I going to find people to talk to me about things that they love? Well, I guess I'll learn Instagram, because I know that cosplayers put blood, sweat, and tears, and a portion of money at times, into making these incredible costumes. If they love it so much that they're wearing it, I'm sure that they might hopefully want to talk to me about other things besides cosplay. But obviously, cosplay is a huge part of a cosplayer's life and fandom. So here we are, and you are a cosplayer. I mean, not just a cosplayer, but you cosplay. Um, how did you get into cosplay?
I I'm originally from West Palm Beach, and when I was in high school, I went to some local conventions just to hang out with my friends and just kind of see what was going on. And I kept seeing people in like big mecha suits or like Naruto cosplays, and I was just like, oh, okay, like this is like people do this for a hobby. That's interesting. And then I kind of like forgot that cosplay was a thing. And then around like I want to say like 2015, I went to MegaCon for the first time, and I was like, you know what, I love Sailor Jupiter. Let me like do a Sailor. Let me like just buy a Sailor Jupiter cosplay. And I went and not thinking like like anything was gonna happen, but I kept getting stopped with other people who were also dressed as Sailor Moon characters. They didn't know these people, but they were like, "Hey, can we take a picture of all of you guys?" And I'm just like staring at them. I'm like, "They're strangers, but yeah, sure, I'll take a picture." Like with these new friends I just made. And I loved it, and I liked feeling like a superhero. And then again, I forgot that cosplay was a thing for a few years, and then I kind of got back into it like 2017, and then that's been how it's been ever since. I've just been kind of growing and learning more about sewing and getting more into like the little details of a costume. I've gotten more particular about, and I've just kind of grown my hobby that way. And I didn't think I was going to get into cosplay as much as I have been, but you never know what's going to happen.
Well, what is it about cosplay that drew you to it? Especially because it seems like you did it and then you like it kind of went away, and then you did it again, it kind of went away. Like, what stuck this time?
I would have to say, I get these random moments of like inspiration, and I get super passionate about a project. And that's what ended up happening with me with my Raven cosplay. MetroCon was coming up in 2019, and I was like, you know what, I want to like make something. And I had made cosplays in the past with like I did a Sailor Jupiter. I call her Sailor Jupiter 1.0. That was like a few years ago, and then I made a fruit maid. But Raven was actually the one where I was like the most proud of because I made the cape myself, and I did my best to assemble the costume, and I was just like, man, this like feels great to be in this. Like I feel like super confident, and I feel like super powerful. And I realized that I really enjoyed feeling that way because, everyone wants to kind of be a superhero at some point. And I got to meet so many different people at the convention, and I really liked that because cosplay is not something that like everybody knows about. And so when you find people that do, you're just like, yeah, let's talk about it all day, every day. Let's like totally do it. And so I really enjoyed the community, like just people just coming up to me being like, oh my gosh, let's talk about Teen Titans Go. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's talk about Teen Titans Go, like, that sort of thing. So I think it was mostly the cosplay community that kind of hooked me in for sure. I mean, most of my friends now like do cosplay. So I think it's not only the dressing up. I mean, that's also like so much fun to do, but it's also just making friends that do the same thing as you. I think that's what really drew me in.
Absolutely. I think, when especially with and I go out on the limb of like with Sailor Moon or with characters like how you said you did Raven from Teen Titans, when you have those larger fandom cosplay communities where again you throw a stone in a comic convention and you're going to hit a couple Sailor Moons and a couple other Sailor Scouts. It's like that instant it's that instant connection of you and I are into the same thing. Like that's like instantaneous. Like, hey, we can talk about this and hang out. We might not even know each other or see each other again, but it's that same thing rather than like if I'm walking around the convention, like, me and I'm like, I'm into that and I'm into that, but it's not like a physical manifestation of like, hey, like you're dressed up like that, like that's like the instant connection that people get from these like really well known fandoms that people are super into.
Yeah, absolutely. It's for me, it's not only just like the fandom that we kind of like, we're matching like, oh my gosh, you're a Sailor Moon and I'm a Sailor Jupiter. Oh my gosh, let's take pictures and bond that way. But it's also the like for me personally, because I do like 50-50 of like sewing and buying my costumes. Um, for me, it's also just appreciating their hard work. And I love learning from other cosplayers. Um, Being like, hey, I love how you did your bows. Like, can you tell me how you did it? And it's just out of genuine curiosity to also but then also just to learn too from other people. Like I've reached out to several cosplayers via Instagram that I saw their cosplay and I was like, I'd love to do this character someday. Can you tell me how you did it? And I'm just so amazed and thankful that so many, especially Sailor Moon cosplayers, that they are so willing and open to showing me how they did things. um, I reached out to some of them in regards to because I've been working on a Queen Helenia cosplay from Sailor Moon, and there's some parts of it that are very tricky and that I'm still having a challenge with. And I reached out to some of them who actually cosplayed that same character, and I said, "Hey, like, how did you do this?" And they're totally willing and open to showing me like step by step what they did, to what materials they used, to what method they did. It's just been such a great bonding and connection that I've had with like the cosplay community.
That is the one thing that I have heard from so many people is the accessibility of I don't want to say like so like some of the people are definitely not accessible, but for the primary like cosplay community, super accessible as far as you send them a message and you ask like those type of questions, and 9 times out of 10 they get back to you, unless like it goes into the weird Instagram like death mailbox area where they don't see it unless they actually go look for it. But 9 times out of 10 you get that response of, yeah, I can help you, or I can provide like links to you or assistance or point you in the right direction, because that's something that I've heard many times over of they don't know how to do this, or they need guidance, or they need like the tips and tricks or where to find stuff or source the material. And it's super super accessible, and a lot of the people are super friendly about it too.
Super friendly and really helpful with like, hey, how's it going with your project? Or they, after I ask for the help, they tell me that they can't wait to see what the end result looks like. It's stuff like that that just it warms my heart. It just makes me so happy that there's people out there that are willing and able to help others, especially with like challenging cosplays. Like I was thinking about doing a cosplay from Legend of Zelda, and I asked a cosplayer who did something similar, and she literally gave me the website of where she got her bodysuit and how she did X, Y, and Z, and it's just been super helpful.
Now you have done a number of different characters. I'm looking at your Instagram now. Of course, you have Sophie Hatter, you have Sailor Jupiter, you have Raven, you have somebody from Lore Olympus. I'm looking it up now. Persephone. Um, what's been your I don't want to say favorite, but what's been like your greatest accomplishment for cosplay? Like the one thing where you're like, dang, like I nailed that. Like that is me and I did that.
I would say my Sailor Jupiter cosplay. That was my first cosplay that I made the entire actual costume of it. I made the skirt, the leotard, the collar, the bows, you name it. I mean I didn't make the accessories or the gloves, but I did make the glove rolls. I painted the boots. It was just a project that I was really really proud of coming together. It was just so much work, and I was like fearful that I was going to mess up. And there were some points of it that I had to redo or make some tweaks to, but the end product of it, walked around Holiday Matsuri last year and I was just like, man, I feel awesome. This is an awesome cosplay. I'm super proud of this. This is great. It's just one of those cosplays for me.
That's awesome. I'm looking at the picture now. My wife and I were actually at Holiday Matsuri, and there's so many cool costumes. My wife was like, because we normally go to MegaCon as a
Mhm.
family one day, and then I go to MegaCon by myself on like another day.
Mhm.
And she's like, I love Holiday Matsuri because so many people do Christmas themed cosplays, and she really dug that. Like that was like one of her favorite things was seeing so many just like Christmas themed cosplayers out there.
I love how creative people can be. I saw last year a Christmas Raven where they did like a red cape for her and like a green leotard, and I was just like, that is so stinking cute. I love it. And like just random characters too that they like Christmasified. So like General Grievous from Star Wars, I saw like was all Christmas and stuff, and I was just like, I love it. Everything is so festive. It's a great convention. I think it's my favorite out of all the conventions that happen in Florida.
Especially because at least in December it might be like a little bit cooler, but not terribly
The hotel's
cool. I know.
also yeah, the hotel's really pretty though too. I just love the like the pool area, and they have like a greenhouse too that a lot of people take photos with. It's a really nice location.
Yes, it is. Parking is not so good, but
No.
that's another conversation.
Oh geez.
Now, I will say, so I scrolled through all of your Instagram because that's how I am. I will say that there is a photo of you that I absolutely love. It's you as Sophie, and you say that you call this the flirty Sophie, but I love the lighting of the shot and how it's got like the bright exposure in the top left corner. And if people are looking for it, it's like the November 9th one because I got it pulled up. Um, but I love how it's like super bright, but then it kind of as it gets closer, obviously like it darkens because you're in the picture and you've got like the dark like tree line on the right hand side. There's just something really pleasing about it. Like just it's an eye-catching picture. And I love that photo.
Thank you so much. I loved that whole photo shoot with Sophie. My friend Polly Kramer, who does photography, he had never done a cosplay photo shoot before, and so he's someone I worked with. And I said to him, I said, "Hey, would you be interested in doing like a shoot with me? I have a cosplay I really want to work on." And he said, "Yeah, sure." And he was so good. He actually watched the movie before doing the shoot so that he could kind of understand, what I was kind of going for. And he did an amazing job. I absolutely love every single photo from that shoot. And it's thank you. I really appreciate it. It was a good time.
That's what I'm here for, to compliment about the things that can never make because my hands don't make things like that. It's just magic, sewing magic. Now, you talked about in the beginning um, that you are a co-found. I want to make sure I get it right. Co-founding member of the Sailor Guardians of Central Florida.
Yes.
Yeah, you got it right.
Yeah.
What is the Sailor Guardians of Central Florida?
Sailor Guardians of Central Florida is a brand new Sailor Moon cosplay group. It's going to be based around the Central Florida area. As of this recording, we're actually going to be debuting a new member of our group for the next few weeks. So if you have a specific character you really love, keep an eye out on our Instagram page because we're going to be announcing which member is going to be portraying that character. It's been a really awesome process. We have so many ideas for this coming year, and it's just been a lot of fun to plan this out with my other friends who are also the co-founders as well.
Now, what was the catalyst for making the Sailor Guardians of Central Florida? Like, because I know, or at least I know that there was like a Sailor Moon group, but like not that there can't be like 500 Sailor Moon groups in the area. But what was the catalyst for making or starting this group?
My friends and I just really enjoyed, we just have ideas all the time of different like things the Sailor Scouts could do, the Sailor Guardians could do. Like we had ideas of like, let's do Christmas dresses, let's do like a beach pool shoot. Like we had so many ideas, and we just thought, hey, why don't we just make a group and kind of make it happen. And that's what we ended up doing. And then one thing kind of led to another, and we created an Instagram page. We held a casting call, and now we've got like a full group of cosplayers, and it's just been a really fun and crazy process of organizing and getting things together. But yeah, we just have so many ideas, and can't wait to do stuff with the group and show you what we can do.
Awesome. I know that as of again, we're recording in January. Moon has been announced, and I was like, oh gosh, like there's actually announcements happening. I'm so excited to see like who's coming next. And I was like, okay, cool beans. I'm like I always dig like when new groups come out, and I'm like, I at least I know the characters. I know them. I
Yes.
know Sailor Moon.
Yes. Well, in a few days of this recording, Mercury is going to be announced, and it's going to be two characters every week until we've got everyone announced. So, yeah.
Now, are you having like the full Senshi experience? Is it going to be like everybody? Are you sticking just to like the inners and the outers?
We've got the inners, the outers. We've got Luna, Artemis, Diana, and we've got some. We have a villain, and we also have a character from two characters actually from the Stars season.
Okay, cool. And just this is just like a just like I guess a typical Sailor Moon group. We'll get to be seeing like y'all doing like cosplay group photo shoots and going to conventions together, and I assume possibly having panels together because that's what happens at cosplay or at conventions too. Is generally there's like a Sailor Moon group that'll like have a panel and talk about stuff because that's what I always see at times.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So we have our plans uh, pending all this crazy stuff that's going on right now. We're hopefully going to be attending MegaCon and Holiday Matsuri as a group. So those are the two conventions that are tentative plans for now. But we also have photo shoot ideas throughout the year. Um, right now, we don't have any plans for doing any skits or panels or anything like that, but that's definitely something that some of the members are interested in doing, and we're totally on board for doing that maybe in the future. But yeah, right now we're focusing on shoots and conventions.
Awesome. And yeah, I definitely have to wait to see how everything shakes out with the current pandemic situation that we are currently in. I know that MegaCon, as again recording in January, MegaCon announced that they're moving their dates back to August, which crossing fingers is a as far enough away, but we shall see.
Yes, exactly.
And then crossing fingers for Holiday Matsuri because I was really hopeful for that for last year, but yeah,
Yeah, it's fingers crossed for everything, but just want to make sure everyone's safe no matter what. But fingers crossed.
exactly. Now, the last question I have, and it's something that every cosplayer gets asked, is what is on your personal list? Like, what's on your list for this year? What's your goals for cosplay? Like for characters? Like what is on your list of I want to make these this year?
One of my goals that I've been procrastinating on the past year or so is finishing my Queen Helenia cosplay. That is my goal for this year. I do with the Sailor Moon group. I'm actually going to be making a Christmas slash Santa dress for Sailor Jupiter. So that's something I'm excited about making with the group. But a few other projects that I think I want to do is Haruhi Fujioka from Oron High School Host Club and Nurse Joy from Pokemon. So those are some projects that I definitely want to do this year.
Cool beans, cool beans. I'm always excited for like Santa type characters cosplay. Like that whole red and white aesthetic is just there. I don't know what it is, but it's something where I just dig characters that like holiday-fied after being at Holiday Matsuri. It's just something cool that I love to look at.
Yeah, especially when like people like add Santa hats to everything and fur trim to everything. It looks all cozy and awesome.
Yes, if only it was a little bit colder. Then
Yeah.
Then it's like, okay, cool. But then I remember last year it was like so hot.
And you're just like sweating and you're like, it's Christmas. I swear it's Christmas.
I swear it's Christmas in Florida. Quick, somebody throw an ice cube at me.
I'm going to just jump in the pool and cool down. It's fine.
Yes, the pool where people can swim in Florida almost year round.
Exactly.
Now, Ashley, for everybody that's listened and they've made it to the end of this podcast, which congratulations, you have survived. The listeners are hopefully good and they have made it here. What are the best places for them to find you out there on the internet to check out your cosplay or to just like see what you do?
You can find me on Instagram and Facebook by Ashley Hime Cosplay. You can also check out our Sailor Moon group on Instagram and Facebook, Sailor Guardians of Central Florida.
Awesome possum. I will make sure to have links in the show notes and on the website and Facebook page. So that way, people listening, you can click on them and go check out Ashley and the things she does and the Sailor Guardians of Central Florida and see who they have announced and see if your favorite scout has been announced. And if not, then you just get to follow them and wait for it to be announced. Because I'm sure Pluto will be like one of those last ones. So like I'm in it for the long haul of waiting, and I'm fine with that. And that's totally awesome. But Ashley, I want to say thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to come and talk with me about the things that you love today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. This was really great, and you're really awesome to talk to.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you for listening to Tales from the Fandom. Subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Tales from the Fandom to see photos, links, leave feedback, and check out upcoming guests. If you'd like to be a guest, email David at talesfromthefandom@gmail.com.